Hi, friends. Today we're going to talk about a very egregious case with a veterinarian where he acted out of line in Canada. And we're going to talk about our thoughts, our feelings about the situation. And I'll let Becca get started.
So I'm just going to read a quick little paragraph from the Horse Sport that just overviews the case and decision. We'll put a link in the description too where you can find the full article as well as a link to the hearing, everything that went on with it, the discipline committee's thing. So from the Horse Sport, the discipline committee of the College of Veterinarians of Ontario has suspended the license of Dr. Matthew Lussery of Mount Albert, Ontario for 6 months after finding that he committed professional misconduct during the treatment of a horse, failed to properly communicate with a client, and breached client confidentiality on social media. So the rundown is that he got heavy-handed with the horse under sedation, and it's a 15-year-old gelding, and it was witnesses, and there was a video evidence.
Yeah,
right?
So there was a person in the barn that videoed him hitting and kicking a horse under sedation that was just having general routine work done. And the horse was not acting out. Not that a horse acting out should deserve that either. But yeah, the horse was not acting out. He was just standing there. And for some reason, the veterinarian, standing there sedated. So for some reason, the veterinarian felt the need to go after this horse. And another part of the situation is that the video was posted online in social media. And then the veterinarian started talking about the horse's case on the internet, sharing information about the horse that the owner didn't even know on the internet. So client confidentiality, brutality, I mean, you name it, it was done wrong. I mean, what would you do if somebody did that to your horse?
Yeah, go scorched earth on them,
Yeah.
Like, and I say that and everything, and, violence is not the answer and everything else, but protecting those under your charge, as well as just your animals, and protecting the voiceless and everything else, and going after them. Now, going scorched earth and doing things like that, it doesn't mean that I would just go and deal the same kind of violence towards the person and everything else. No. But I would be pissed. I would be angry. I'd be furious. Yeah. And there would be a lot of stuff. And in this article and everything, he did get fined, but from what I understand, the fine is actually to pay the legal fees of the college involved in the investigation. And so for me, I'm curious if there was anything for the owner, because I would, not that payment makes anything better, but like that horse is going to need more vet care. It's probably going to need some training to undo all of that, because that horse can that's a vet, it's going to beat the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And any potential, injuries incurred or whatever. I know in the article they stated that the horse was said to be fine, but it could be something that comes up a little bit later that, it actually is from that, but it doesn't necessarily come up right away. Now, the story also did happen in 22. So now in 2026, you would probably find any of those informations. But as the owner, I would want a lot more than probably just a suspension.
And it's only 6 months. I have to mention they were going for 15 months. And they only got 6 months.
The ones that, honestly didn't. And I don't know how it might work differently in Canada than in the US too, as far as here, for the most part, I can, as the individual owner and everything else, I can make a suit against somebody and I can try to get something back. But I would want, and then obviously never ever work with that again. It's interesting to see too, reading the article and even the findings in the committee's case and all, that in their investigation, they never found any other incidences like this was a one-off, which it very well could be, but it just seems like a very drastic
one-off
move on a one-time thing, And it's just interesting, because you talk about like people doing things like that and it starts to escalate because they get away with something more minor and then they just do a little bit more.
Like that Texas A&M vet.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys don't know about that case, that is a crazy case. But people have been complaining about that vet.
Yeah.
Now this vet is being required to go under anger management, so that's good. But
and more education on social medias and sharing. I think some other education too within like handling of horses and like different things within the realm of what he got in trouble for and then the suspension. But
it just seems like overall across the board in the equestrian sports, there is an underlying issue of violence. And I don't know if that's just worldwide as well too, or if awareness is just being brought to it. Because if you think about the way horses used to be started or broke, right, versus now, there's also a shift. So I kind of wonder if some of this stuff, not making excuses, is from old time thinking versus new thinking. I don't know, did they post the age of that vet? I'm really curious to see how old they are as well.
They might have. I don't recall. If it is, I don't think so in the article itself.
Yeah.
But it might be in the actual findings that is also sourced. Yeah, it's just interesting. But on that note, too, it's one of those things that correlation and stuff, when people talk about like, oh, this never happened, or this wasn't a big deal X amount of years ago and everything. I was like, no, it was happening. It was a big deal. Things were going on. It's just now you're hearing about it.
Yeah, and people are trying to do something about it.
It's just now it's being shown and that this exists and has existed for however long, regardless of what it might be.
Yeah, and at least the college is doing something about it. I mean, Texas A&M with that vet, they just kept ignoring it.
Yeah.
And at least this college is trying to do something about it. Do I think it's enough? No. Do I think 6 months you can change your attitude and your life views on how you treat horses? No, I don't.
You can start.
It's
an ongoing thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. And it's just like, out of all of the scenarios that we've talked about before, we've read and seen, like you said, there's no excuse for beating a horse or any animal for that reason, regardless. But like an animal under sedation.
Yeah. They're helpless. It's like a baby.
Extra helpless. What could they possibly be doing that you're gonna have to like strong arm or whatever else outside of like maybe having to strong arm and hold them up?
Yeah.
But like, but it's wild.
It is. So let us know your thoughts about what happened here, how the vet handled this on social media. Do you think the veterinary college did enough, and why this is happening, why all this stuff has come into light? We'd love to hear from you. So thank you so much.